Icebreakers work on teams. The research is pretty clear on that. The trick is to bring your team icebreakers that don't make them cringe. Hey leader, David Burkus here, organizational psychologist and author of 5 best-selling books on helping leaders and teams do their best work ever. And let me tell you a confession right off the bat. When I was younger, I hated icebreakers. I mean, I think we all did. Early on in our career, we just came out of college or high school or whatever we joined in our sort of first real job, and someone asked us to do an icebreaker, and it just seemed stupid. Share 2 truths and a lie, or it just seemed cringe. I get it, right? And so it's a little weird to find myself 20-something years later recording an episode about icebreakers. But the truth is that the research supports that they actually do work. And even the cringy ones technically work. But I think the goal for a lot of teams is doing ones that are personally meaningful and not all that uncomfortable. The reason icebreakers work is that they help a team find what are called uncommon commonalities. Things that members of the team have in common with 1 or 2 other members of the team that are uncommon to the organization or even to that team. And I know that seems a little counterintuitive. Why would finding a strong connection to only 1 or 2 people on the team make you feel connected to the whole team and not just in like some sort of in-group click thing with that group? But the truth is, people are incredibly likely to be engaged, supported, and build trust in the team if they can point to 1 or 2 good friends they have on the team. There's a lot of benefits that happen in your perception of the overall team if we take the time to find those uncommon commonalities and turn them into friendships. So what I want to cover in this episode is some icebreakers I've used to help teams find uncommon commonalities quickly, because the longer an icebreaker goes on, the more cringe it is, and effectively, because the harder it is to answer any of these questions, the more cringe it is. So we're gonna share 4 in particular that I use with great success with a lot of the teams that I'm working with. Let's get started. So the first one, and this is a recurring icebreaker, this is something you can do on a regular basis, is called an energy check. And the idea behind the energy check is that as you're opening up a team-wide meeting, maybe you do a regular all-hands meeting once a week or every other week or something like that, but when you're kicking off that meeting, you just go over to the team and you ask them, hey, how are you doing on a scale of 1 to 5? What's your energy like today? Right? With 5 being you're like the Energizer Bunny just going and going and going and going, and 1 being you're like the Walking Dead. Right? So where are you 1 to 5? Now, very rarely are people gonna say 5, and I hope very rarely are people gonna say 1, but sometimes it happens. And the truth is, it doesn't actually matter what number they say. If they say a 3, great. If they say a 4, great. If they say a 5, you could kind of look at them a little shifty and be like, how much caffeine have you had already today? But whatever number they give, the follow-up question is always the same. Tell me more about that. Is there anything we can do as a team to support you in getting that number up? Right? The idea here is you don't have to get that number up. We don't want to lie and have everyone say they're a 5 when they're not. The idea is this opens the conversation about the ways in which the team can support you. And in the process, you learn what's dragging them down. And you learn sometimes about their personal life, sometimes about their weaknesses, but you learn things through that discussion. If everybody just goes around the room and shares a number, you're not getting any uncommon commonalities. But if you ask, you follow up, what can the team do to support you? You're gonna learn more about your teammate. You're gonna find those uncommon commonalities. And then obviously, you're also gonna find the ways you can support them over the next day or week, etc. You're gonna learn a ton just by asking that second question. The second icebreaker that works really, really well for finding uncommon commonalities and building bonds on a team is what I call Triple H. And I call it Triple H because it focuses around 3 H's, but I'd be lying. When I was a teenager, I was a bit of a fan of pro wrestling, and so maybe it's called Triple H because of Triple H. And if you get that, by the way, now you and I have an uncommon commonality. The idea behind Triple H is that we're each gonna have people share, in turn, a hero, a highlight of their life or career, and a hardship. Now, it's important to emphasize here that people have the right to be as vulnerable as they're comfortable being. They do not have to share their biggest hardship. So when somebody says their hardship and you go, that's it? That's all you've ever faced in your life? It's probably not. It's probably just the level of vulnerability they're comfortable with. That's okay. You still celebrate it. Same thing with a highlight, right? They get to choose what it is. Some people are gonna pick a career highlight. Some people are gonna pick a personal highlight. It's fine, it doesn't matter. The point is they're gonna pick something that's meaningful to them. And in doing so, they're gonna disclose things about them, whether it's a hero. And no, Triple H was not my hero. He was actually sort of a heel the entire time. I think he sort of still is. Or they're gonna share a highlight and you're gonna learn about their preferences or what they really value, or they're gonna share a hardship. And you might even find that other people have had similar hardships. And there's a ton of research on the bonding effect of having to go through similar trials with each other. So no matter which one they sort of emphasize, or through all three, you're gonna create the opportunity to find a tremendous amount of uncommon commonalities and build bonds on those teams through those three answers. The third icebreaker I love to do with teams is defining moment. So this is sort of like we take Triple H down to one H and maybe we capitalize it because it's more important. But the idea here is that everyone is going to share a defining moment in their life or career. And a defining moment is something that helped turn them in to who they are today. Now, you don't have to get any more specific than that. You don't want to say it has to be a defining moment from your time here at Acme Corporation. You don't want to say it has to be from your personal life. You don't even, beyond just saying it shaped who you are today, you don't want to get specific into the definitions of what makes a moment a defining one. It's however they choose to do it. Because the idea is the more vague you leave it, the more open-ended you leave that question, the more likely they're gonna share that thing that's personally meaningful to them. And so when they find that uncommon commonality, right, what's gonna happen is it's gonna be one that's deeper and more personally meaningful and easier to build that bond over. So you get to define it, but just have everybody share a defining moment, something that happened to them, that turned them into who they are today. And the fourth and final one, and this is actually one of my favorite ones to do spur of the moment, like when I haven't taken the time to plan it out and tell people ahead of time, is called 3 snaps. And the idea here, sort of like Snapchat or Instagram or what have you, it's picture focused. The idea is that whoever's turn it is, they go through their camera roll and they pick 3 photos. Now you could say 3 photos from their whole camera roll, or you could say 3 photos from the last 6 months or from the last year, but they pick 3 photos that are meaningful to them and they share them with the team. Airplay them up on the screen or share their screens if you're in a virtual meeting, whatever it is, but share out 3 things that are meaningful. And again, that's all you define. So they get to pick, do I share something that I took that's work related, something that's family related? Most of the time people share vacations, they share families, and that's okay. Because again, the goal of the activity is to get people sharing about themselves to the level they're comfortable and finding those things they have in common with other members of the team. Now we went through 4 different activities here, and the last 3, an energy check is something you want to be doing on a regular basis, but the last 3, you can kind of choose how you want to implement them with your team. You can have everybody go around the room and share a Triple H or a defining moment, right, all at once, or you can pick someone. I find a lot of times if I want to do this fast, because the faster it is, the less cringe it is, and I want to do it effectively, what I tend to do is open up a regular all hands meeting with one of these icebreaker activities, have one person go, have them know ahead of time that they're going so they can choose the thing that's most meaningful in their answer, and then that person gets to pick the next person on the team the next week or the next 2 weeks or the next day, whenever it is we meet. That way it only takes about 3 minutes, maybe 5 at the absolute maximum, to have that person share and have the team talk about what they shared, and then we're on to the next one. But if you wanted to use it for something like an offsite or a dinner or some time where we have a lot of time to unpack, that's when you say, hey, let's have each person go through. You decide based on the context you need, but pick whichever one of these 4 that you want, and what you're gonna find is the team is gonna share at a new level. They're gonna understand each other at a new level, and they're gonna perform at a new level. They're gonna feel more supported because they've got bonds on that team now that came through those uncommon commonalities. And that's gonna help everyone on the team do their best work ever. Oh, and one more thing. These are 4 specific icebreakers I love to use, but if you're looking to use them as part of an overall team building activity, then you certainly can. But I also want to introduce you into what I believe is the single best team building activity of all time. You're going to want to check it out. It's right here in this video.